Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Astrologic Astrology, the astrology of I Am, and our Venus Fridays When Love Speaks show. Today, we're going to move our focus a little bit. We're going to change from talking strictly about love as it relates to one-on-one love to agape love and the love of community and family and artistry and what artists do to help us find our way back to love when we get distracted. And I have a great artist to talk to us today to help us understand and look at this in a different way. And she is none other than Renee Clark, a world-renowned musician, composer, performer. Specifically in the last few years, she's been doing all types of work in theater that engages and lifts people up and sends people out of theaters smiling, dancing, feeling connected. So I wanted to share her point of view with you and let you be inspired by her like I have been, as I've been blessed to work with her for several years in the realm of music and specifically theater. So without any further ado, please check out this inspiring interview with Renee Clark. Hey Clark, what a pleasure it is to have you on the show finally. My goodness.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you for the invitation.
Where you been? We've been needing high-class entertainment and high-class content. And what? Where have you been?
I've been playing. I've been playing. We've been doing a little stuff here and there, just had to be careful for the pandemic, but we've been doing some stuff out there.
I hear you. I'm really happy to have you on the show because, as you know, this week in particular has been a challenging week in terms of all the issues, the social issues, and let's not play around with it. We're talking about the issues of Black people being persecuted by the police and how that is just seemingly exploding even more so. With this week, we're having three different episodes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we need to specifically talk about those. I prefer if we could just talk about how what we do as artists makes a difference in the world. And just, if I can just ask you, what do you think artistry and people who commit themselves to art and music and those types of disciplines bring to the world?
I mean, we've seen it over and over and over what an artist can do in times like this. I mean, let's think about James Brown during a lot of unrest in the 60s and Marion Makeba in South Africa, who spread the word through her songs that there was a situation there that we didn't know anything about. The artists have been getting the message to the people as well as helping to heal. When a child stood up and said, "I'm Black and I'm proud," I mean, how strong could that be? And 30 years later, I was sitting in the company of two teenagers, and one of the teenagers called the other one, "Oh, you're Black." And he's like, "Oh, it's because I've been outside in the sun." And I was like, "Oh no, is that a bad thing now?" So no, we have much power in our art, in every form of it. Us being musicians and what the music does is just priceless.
I'm so glad that you brought up Black and I'm proud, because actually James Brown was my first concert. I'm giving away my age, but I saw James Brown at a Yankee Stadium in New York when he was like the Michael Jackson or the Prince of the day.
Wow.
And they were like, women were rushing the stage, knocking down police barricades to be next to the stage. And it was right around the same time. This was 68. So that was right around the time that Dr. King passed. Yes. That had to be the same year, I think, that Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud came out.
Oh, okay.
So that's like a powerful example. Thank you for that. And for people who don't know who Miriam Makeba is, tell us a little bit about what she brought.
Oh my God, you're putting me on the spot now because I'm terrible with names. Help me out. What was the big hit?
I don't know her hit either. I just know that she was prominent and she's from South Africa. So
Right.
the main point is that she's a part of who brought our awareness over here. She brought the awareness of what was happening over there to us over here.
Yes.
And it seemed like the apartheid movement started in earnest in the late 80s, but it really started back then. So you hit the nail on the head.
I mean,
But let's talk about you, because you've done a lot of different things creatively. You've traveled the world performing your own music, and then you came back home to raise a beautiful Black child. And when you came back home, you started working in theater predominantly. And how has your upbringing well, tell us about your upbringing and then tell us how you brought that influence into your work in theater.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I'm born and reared here in the ATL. Yes. And I am a preacher's kid. I'm a pastor's kid. I am a Baptist pastor's youngest child.
Whoa. So,
and
so you're spoiled.
No, no. But there was so much singing in this house. My father used to sing in quartet groups, and my mother's brothers were guitar players and blues singers, and it was just this plethora of music that I was surrounded by in one way. And in another way, my dad had these really strong feelings about music that could harm us. Like, we couldn't listen to a lot of secular music because it could harm us in his mind. So, Ride On Sally, and it just wasn't going to be played in this house. Now, there was a Sam Cooke album here, which was really funny because one side was gospel and the other side was secular music. So, yeah, we weren't exposed at all. But what I learned from being in church 52 Sundays out of a year,
whoa,
plus revivals and plus other things. And we loved it. We loved it. It was cool. But I learned about the spirit and what that felt like when it was right and when it was not present. It was just, there was nothing. And I still expect that in my in the expansion of my knowledge of music over my lifetime. I have heard this and felt the spirit in every genre. It's not isolated to gospel music. When it's right, it's there. I hear it in jazz. I've heard it in opera. I've seen it and have witnessed it in classical music. When it's there, oh, it's another story going on. When it's not there, it's like, okay.
So it's like what Aretha says, giving them something, I'm paraphrasing, giving them something they can feel.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why Mahalia was invited to Europe, because they felt something when she sang. That's why Quincy was invited to Europe. They wanted to like, give us that. We want to be able to do that, what you all are doing. And we take it for granted as a people. We take it for granted, but it's something really, 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 really special about what we naturally do. And to try to get rid of that and shave that off is just a sin. I think it's a sin. Because they tried to shave Mahalia and put her into a little box and make her, and it's not right. That wasn't her.
I love that. And you're bringing so many things full circle for me today. My first tour of Europe was with a singer who actually sang all of Mahalia Jackson's music. And you're right, they still wanted to feel the music 50 years after she was gone. They packed venues to feel that essence of what the Black music tradition brings.
Oh my
So
God, I didn't really like jazz. I didn't like it. I played it because it was it was there. I went to Berkeley, I studied jazz, but I didn't get it. And somebody passed me, Charles Marshall, who's deceased now, passed me a cassette tape. Anybody remembers a cassette tape?
right.
And it was Coltrane at the Blue Note.
Whoa.
And it sounded like it was at a baseball game in the middle of a holy experience on a Friday night at revival meeting, and people were screaming. And it was like, oh my God, yes, this I can handle, this I can do. And I've gone and I can find it. I can find it. Oh my God. And when I find it on recordings, it's just it's so amazing. It's so delicious when it's there.
And John Coltrane's father or grandfather was a Baptist. I don't know if he's Baptist, but he was a maybe preacher as well. So he was actually playing what he heard, his interpretation of what the church feeling was for him.
Yes. And you can hear it.
And it comes out in that genre, which is not associated with church at all, but you could still feel that vibe. And his perhaps his greatest record is called "A Love Supreme," and I think that whole idea that it's all about the spirit is so powerful, and I love the fact that you use that as your reference in everything you do. How do you bring that to theater?
Well, theater is probably the easiest to me. Uh, because well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But let me back up before we get away from the thing with jazz and it not being associated with church. I am in a very beautiful situation. I work with First Congregation. The pastor is Dwight Andrews, who is a jazz saxophonist, and we every third Sunday of the month we do jazz. Our whole worship service is the music style is jazz, and it's really beautiful. And I didn't know that there were so many jazz songs that honor God and the Spirit. It's really good.
It's funny you say that. I've always felt like, especially in the South, but everywhere, that if we're going to have social movements and grow, it's going to have to be through the leadership of pastors who include these kind of other influences in the church setting. So it's nice to hear that you have a church setting that is allowing for expanded awareness of different types of expression. That's beautiful.
Oh, the Sunday that we ended the benediction with "One Love," Bob Marley. I was like, where am I? This is so beautiful. But yeah, I definitely in a new environment. It's totally different from my upbringing, where all of that music would have been considered not acceptable. And there I'm in the middle of it, just having a ball.
Wow, that's so nice. So you were going to say how you bring it to theater.
To the theater. Now, the uh, a good friend of mine told me once, listen, it'll tell you what it wants to do. So in theater, here's a story. It's always a story about something, somebody, something, some situation. And the writer has been inspired by either true events or something that happened. But if you listen to what the original people did with the story and the music, it'll tell you what it needs to do. And then you just do that. You just make sure that that story is forefront, not the entertainment part of it. That's when we get in the way a lot of times. I can't help but talk about my spiritual background when they say, you know, let me get out of the way so something greater can happen.
Yes.
And sometimes when in the arts, sometimes it's about, can I listen to me? Aren't I a great singer? Look at me, aren't I? But when you're you have to have your technique. You have to have the tools to do what you're doing. But when you allow the story to come through first, and you're a good singer, and you got all of that other stuff going on with you, it's like it's a rising, like a spiritual rising just happens in the performance, and it's amazing. And what's really good about it is that you have maybe sometimes between 14, 15, 20, 25, 30 people that are all allowing themselves to connect and let this thing happen. From the technicians to the actors to the musicians to the, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and everybody's connecting, and we're all depending on each other. And I didn't know for years that there was a stage manager that's watching my head to do this, to call a light cue. But she's depending on me every night, or he is depending on me to do this, because that's what that's something they've noticed. Renee's gonna do her head like this at the same place every night, and that's what we're gonna take our light cue from. That's how connected we are.
That's amazing. So it really is, in your telling of it, it really is a spiritual community that's coming together to lift people up.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Lorenzo, who is my partner in musical theater for many, I don't even know how many years we've been doing this together now, but I mean, you watched it, Lorenzo, when we did Five Guys Named Mo 2 years ago. And we just saw people dancing out of the theater and standing in the lobby and just dancing and dancing. I've never, that's the first time my mother, who just turned 90,
Wow, bless
came
her.
to see 4 shows. Never ever, never ever. And she called everybody she knew to come. You got to come and see this. You got to come to see this. And it was a healing experience. It really was.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely was. And so how do we take that and then take it out into the world where people don't necessarily come to the stage, but there's so much going on, like these issues that we're facing now with police brutality and the killing of Black people, not just Black men, Black people. What can we do to sort of make a difference? What do we do as artists and as people in a community who want to be about something positive? I know this may be a lot for you, but you're such an inspirational person. I just want to know what your thoughts are about how we can make a difference as artists in the world. Now, we talked about James Brown and Miriam Makeba, and we referenced Aretha Franklin briefly, but now in the 21st century, what do we do?
Well, let's start with we said that James Brown was one of the hardest working men in show business. That was kind of like his reputation and what the world said about him. And when you go back and you look at him, it's like amazing, amazing. What we have to do as artists is we can't take what we do lightly. We can't just come to the gig and play the gig. We can't do that, because what we're doing is important. We have to take on that responsibility. We have to come and give it 150,000%. We cannot pretend like it's just a gig. And it's very hard when you're playing in a environment where people are clanging forks to a plate. You feel like they're not listening. But we have to rise above that and play with all of our heart and all of our soul and all of our might to move. We can do it. You can move people. You can move people to stop eating. So instead of them being in charge of us as artists, we have to take ownership in our art and treat it with respect, and treat our art like with respect. Because there are too many artists that just go and do the gig. It's not okay.
I love that. I love you. I love that message. And what about specific writing things? I know you have a song that you wrote that talks about the love of a woman and her child, specifically a male child. Um, how do you approach? Do you mind if we play that?
Sure.
I'm gonna pull it up. I hope this works. Tell our viewers about this song and what it means to you before I play it. A part of it.
Well, the late Theresa Hightower was like a sister to me, and
And me too.
yes,
Bless her name, Miss Theresa Hightower.
absolutely. And T and I had been friends when I met Theresa when her son was 7 years old. And I'm not going to say how old he is today, but that was pretty much a lifetime of watching them as a single mother raising a son, and just we were so close. I got a chance to experience so much of them and what she had to go through, what she was willing to go through for her son, you know, what he was going through as a Black male child living in the United States. I mean, they were both artists. They're both incredible. And she calls me one day and she says, I'm doing my album. If you got anything, let me know. I hung up the phone. It came out. The whole song, lyrics and all came out in like 2 or 3 minutes. I called her back and I said, I got a song. It's about a single mother and her child. And the name of the song was You and I, and the theme of it was you and I against the world.
Wow. A perfect song for now. I'm going to try to bring that up.
Okay.
Let's see if we can play a piece of it. Can you see this?
I see it.
Okay, let's play it.
Through the good time, and the bad time, and the rough time, and the tough time, through the good and bad and rough times, you know the love time, the hope times, and the broke times, through the rough times, tough times, rough times, I'm standing a test of time.
I love that, Renee Clark.
Thank you.
I love that. And it's such a joy to see our sister and our brother, Tony, her son, expressing that love. And it's so needed right now in the world today. If you don't mind, I think I'm going to, when I put this interview out, I'll probably, if you don't mind, take a piece of that and start the interview, if that would be okay with you.
I think that'll be fine.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to finally have you on this program.
Thank
you. Bring such light into the world. And I just pray that you continue to do exactly what you said. Give it 100% so that people can know that the spirit is real. Love is real. Creativity is real. And we can use it. We can share it together to lift each other up. And I think that you represent that perfectly. And I thank you. I thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And will you come back?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Renee Clark. And by the way, for our viewers, I call her Dr. Renee Clark because she's so good at what she does. She's an expert. And you can tell now from having watched this interview why she's so good at what she does. Thank you, Renee Clark. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching this interview. I know you're inspired as I have been inspired for countless years, working, talking, sharing with S. Renee Clark. And now you get a chance to see how blessed I've been. And I know you feel the same way, and I'm happy that we can share her love, her creativity, her spirit with you all. As always, if you want to reach us, you can find us at astrologicastrology.com. That's our website. You can find us on YouTube at Astrologic Astrology and on Instagram at Astrologic Astrology. As always, we wish you love and peace, and we say goodbye with the simple word namaste. The spirit in me recognizes and honors the spirit in you.